Overtime, Unit 2 overtime, the legislative branch. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to jump back into Notebook LM. This will probably be the last time I use this tool specifically, but I'll do a bit of a deep dive here. So at the end of Unit 1 in overtime, I shared the audio overview feature. Hopefully you have access to not only play it, I'll make sure you have access to that. I can even just give you the file. But the interactive beta mode where you can interact or join the conversation is really powerful. There's other cool tools in here too. So even if you don't have access to create things, you should be able to access some of these other studio features like this mind map. And so this gets created by default. This will default and throw you back into the chat as well. If you go too far, it'll sort of ask a question and use the chat to answer the question. But it can show you the relationships between different concepts: the congressional organization, division of labor, party leadership, the committee system. These are things I only briefly touched on in my short lectures. But like, what is the Speaker of the House? How is that different from the Majority Leader? What is a whip? I used the term whip previously. So you can use the mind map feature to kind of dig into concepts and look at relationships. There's also a study guide, a briefing doc, an FAQ, and a timeline. That's what these are. You might have to click into them to see what they are. Let's see if we find that timeline. Here's milestones. Here we go. So you can see this timeline of events. You should be able to make this bigger as well. I'm making it smaller. Timeline. Cool. Let's move it over a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I had to zoom in a little bit. So I'm over in the sort of the studio tab here. There is a Notebook LM app available for Android currently at the time of this recording. So I can look through this timeline of events too, to sort of see the relationship of the flow of time, to see when these amendments were passed, when Congress passed this bill, things like that. That'll generate the from the knowledge base available in the notebook for the unit. Other topics include, like I said, the FAQ could be pretty powerful. Let's go back to the studio. Briefing doc, study guide, and FAQ. Cool. The FAQ has questions and then answers. And so it looks like there's at least about 10 different like sort of major questions. And this is the kind of stuff you'll definitely kind of see within the quizzes and the assignments within our learning management system. Brightspace, I'll let you kind of dig into the rest, but that's what's here. And I haven't even sort of featured the chatting here, but I think you're all pretty comfortable with that at this stage. You sort of can't go wrong asking a question. And there are sample questions down here to kind of show you some of the features of the kinds of things you can ask. One note about Notebook LM, this will be the last thing I say here in overtime for Unit 2, the legislature, is that it only searches what's in its knowledge base. And so for Unit 2, it's only Chapter 11 of the textbook, of the OpenStax textbook. So I've included this list of critical thinking questions, key terms from the chapter, my roughly 30-page lecture, which goes into much more detail, which you can open and access, and then the narration of the chapter itself. And so just one chapter, but that's all it looks at is the transcript of the chapter, my lecture. So in sum, it's, I don't know, goodness, 90 pages of stuff, but it can't go beyond that. And that's a good thing in terms of how this tool works. It's not going to try to search the internet to provide you an answer, which is a real strength. Other tools do that, and sometimes that's very useful. In this context, with Notebook LM, it is only what I've provided, which should be a strength and which should be useful to you as a student in this course.